Now Alexis, Clarence Heyward's work and Kiki Farish's work on the surface look like there's just a huge juxtaposition there. But when you really break them down, there's probably more similarities than people think. So talk about your selection.
Absolutely. Same thing what, even Leah said mentioned earlier, the submissions were absolutely incredible. I was just prideful of so many artists being North Carolina bound. It was just a great show. So I'm glad you chose these two, because this is such a great example of, even if I was walking someone through an exhibit or a tour, I would love to put these two together, because again, let's go ahead and judge from the surface of it. So of course I was, for Clarence, I was drawn to it because of the figure, because of the symbolism, because of the American flag, right? It's so many things that are going on now. But for me personally, this has been a very much lifelong thing of being Black in America, that really trying to balance off of being so prideful of being American, having my whole entire family serve in the military, mother, father, grandfather, everyone served in the military, living on a military base before moving to North Carolina. That was a sense of pride for me. So that American flag was like, this is something prideful. And, as you get older and your eyes open up more and things becoming more aware, and, you just have this really heart kind of breaks, because now sometimes, even if I'm driving through, I see an American flag, I kind of worry about, oh man, is there a Confederate flag right next to it? It's very interesting when you're kind of doing that, because now you see the American flag as something, maybe the symbolism is changing a little bit for somebody personally, but it's just so many things that I'm going back and forth with my personal experience, what's going on now, and being Black in America. The title of it, The Shelter, really drew me too, because it's, the Black boy is behind the American flag, and this country is supposed to give us so much protection, but yet, we're so vulnerable in here. We know the recent death just happening with a young Black man who was murdered, right, running outside of the street. This is something I deal with daily. I have my young nephews here. There's 10 and 7. I constantly have to think about, man, they're going outside. Don't put a hoodie on. Don't put your hand in your pocket. Dating a Black male constantly. He's 6'5" nonetheless, right? So he's a huge Black male walking down the street and constantly worrying about these things. As humans, we worry about the safety of our loved ones, but you have to recognize the additional layer for those who've been oppressed for so many years. And that category comes in many different things. So if we go over to Kiki's image, I love this image because it just reminded me of it's very calming yet very disturbing as well. I didn't know what to feel. My emotions were kind of all over the place with this piece, just because the poppy seed itself and what the poppy flower represents, right? The sleeping and death. I already knew that right away when I saw the poppy. And in this picture, you may not see it, but there's a tiny hint of red as well. So it's not completely red poppy flower. So I was so very much just emotionally all over the place with this piece. And then realizing that the flower is so feminine, right? It's very feminine, strong, beautiful thing, very sensual too, but also looking at just feminism in general, being a woman, right? In this country, being a woman around this world adds so many different layers, right? We have to have this strength, and yet sometimes we're just constantly pushed down. For these two things, both of these images represent who I am, being a Black woman, right? In this world and in this country. These are two things I can't hide from, right? Sometimes you can look at someone and say, I don't know what economic status they have, right? But when you look at me, I cannot hide my skin color, and I can't hide who I am as a female. These are things I can never hide anywhere I go to. So when I'm in a room, I do have to think about these things always. And personally, coming from a Black institution, and now I'm actually in a new organization where it's a very white institution, I constantly think about these things all the time. So for these two hit personally, it hit home for me. They're so similar in ways of just realizing that, you really have to go through a lot of things as being a Black male, as being a female, and just the beauty of it, just such emotional. It was so emotional, these pieces. It had me so confused and loving it at the same time, and kind of all over the place. And these two were just one of my favorites of the show.
Yeah, I so appreciate your comments. I mean, you spoke to a lot of things. For me, the overarching theme of it is the beauty and the power of art to help us understand and unpack and deal with these times that we're in, specifically now. The juxtaposition of the flag with the boy, and the flowers are supposed to be these pretty things that give us comfort, but yet it's the poppy flower. Seemingly there's this juxtaposition, like I mentioned, but there are some very, very evident overlapping themes, and you hit on a whole bunch of them, and we'll have to have a separate conversation where we get into that.